This deck is finally ready to kick the meta's backside. Let's check out Exosisters. What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and finally Exosisters have been around for a while now. They've ended up getting 2 waves of support, and what I mean by that is they've got 2 brand new cards, one in each other set. And finally, for the introduction of Martha, this deck is ready to battle the meta of Telemans and of course sprites. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe. If you want to see duels, test hands, combos, you name it with this deck, then make sure you hit that like button and get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I'll be more than happy to bring that for you. With all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into this anti-meta Exosister profile. So, we start off with the brand new one, and that is of course Exosister Martha. So this is the secret rare from the set of Power of the Elements, and it is crazy good for the deck. So this one is, if you control no monsters or only XYZ monsters, you get to special on this card from the hand for free, and if you do, special on an Exosister Elise from your deck. Broken. You can't special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Exosister monsters. Well, I'm so glad that the Exosister monsters that they have in the extra deck are fairly strong, and it's a lot easier to do so now. The turn you activate this effect. If a card or cards is moved out of either graveyard except during the damage step, you get to special summon from your extra deck one Exosister XYZ using this face-up card you control as material. It's treated as an XYZ summon. Finally, we also have an Exosister that has more than like 800 attack. It's absolutely insane. This card is so good. Not only does it get you an Exosister from the deck, so it instigates just generically rank 4 plays for your Exosisters, but it also has the same clause that if a card is moved from the graveyard, so Ronin Toadin, or Splight Elf, or what is going to be more commonly known as all of the Tearman cards, this card will then allow you to trigger, which can give you a negate from the graveyard, a banish, and more. We've then got the card that this one mentions is, of course, Triple Elise. So this was, in my opinion, the best main deck Exosister monster we got until Martha. And if you control Exosister monster, you get to special on this card from the hand for free. Then if you control Stella, you gain 800 life points. Again, if your opponent moves a card out of either graveyard, you get to XYZ on top of this straight away. So nice and easy and relatively cool to go with it. The best thing, or the big difference with the Martha as well, is the Martha is if a card is moved out of either graveyard. So it doesn't matter if you do it or your opponent does it, whereas Elise actually, or the rest of them, require your opponent to do it. So DD Crow, let's go if you keep Martha on the board. It'll be rare that you do, but like if you special Elise and then special another one and then make the XYZ with that, leave Martha on the board, then she's going to become a free XYZ the next turn. We've then got Triple Stella, so, and a Sophia running out. So this one, of course, again, during the main phase, you get to special on an Exosister monster from your hand. Then if you control Elise, you gain 800 life points. It has the exact same effect that if a card, if your opponent moves a card from either graveyard, you get 2 XYZ on top. We've then got 2 Sophia and the 1 Irene. Finally, we can cut Irene down and we can cut Sophia because these aren't exactly the best ones of the deck. So if you control another Exosister monster, you get to draw a card, and that's going to be counteracted with playing Prosperity. If you control Irene, you gain 800 life points. You can place 1 Exosister card from your hand onto the bottom of the deck and draw 1 card. So again, you can kind of see why these have been dropped down, because we are playing, and I'll get to it now, the Pot of Prosperities. So you're really only going to be using those as a free summon. You're going to be using Pot of Prosperity to dig into your Martha. The biggest issue with Martha is because she locks you in the entire turn for Exosisters, it means you can't protect your Pot of Prosperities with stuff like Gammas, which is a bit of a shame, but it still kind of gives you a lot to play around with. Moving on to the hand traps, we do play Triple D Shifter. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're playing a deck that can use D-Shifter and not really worry about it, you are more than, like, you should definitely be playing it. It's so powerful, especially against Telemans, against Splites. Like, the way you beat Telemans is you take away their graveyard, Branded, take away their graveyard, Punk, take away their graveyard. Like, if they're going to activate Chaos Ruler, everything's going to get banished. Such a good card, which is why this deck is anti-meta. Obviously, triple Ash Blossom, double Ghost Ogre, double DD Crow. Now, I know there are times you want to leave your opponent's cards in their graveyard because they'll then start moving around. But if you're going second against Telemans, you want DD Crow. If you're going second against Splites, you want DD Crow. Like, being able to take out their targets for Elf, being able to take out the exact target that the Telemann is trying to spin back to fuse, will kill that fusion summon there, done, dusted, and dead. So I still feel that this is a better lineup because you're also playing triple Imperm. Now, the only downside of Crow and Ogre is the fact that they have to go to the graveyard, and I explained this in the cost video. So because their destinations as cost need to be the graveyard, you can't actually do that on the Shifter, but it's one of the ones where it's like, well, you're going to activate Shifter, you're going to stall out the turn, you're going to build your board, and you're going to go from there. Especially more so, and I'm just going to triple check this because it just has a little bit of different wording. Yeah, it just says if a card is moved out of either graveyard, you get a special summon. So yeah, Martha will trigger off the back of DD Crow, which is absolutely mental. Moving on to the spells, we've got triple Exosister packs. This is insane. So you pay 800 life points during the main phase to add an Exosister monster. It is a quick effect, except packs, Exosister cards specifically as well. If you added a monster by this effect, you can special summon it. If the other Exosister monster you control, the other Exosister monster listed on it is on the field or in your graveyard. So again, you've got 6 ways to get to Martha, plus the 3 Prosperities. You should be able to get to it as consistently as you possibly can. Martha is going to give you 2 Exosisters anyway, but then on top of this as well, if you've got the other Exosister in the graveyard, you get to special summon it out. The one Armit, I still really like this card. A lot of people are cutting it, but you pay 800 life points to target an Exosister monster you control and special summon 1 Exosister XYZ from the extra deck with a different name from the card you control by using that target as a material. Treat it as an XYZ summon. You can only activate this once per turn, and then you can only activate this card during your opponent's turn unless your opponent controls a monster special summon from the graveyard. I still think it's a really cool card. I think it's a card that if your opponent's trying to play around your, like not trying to move stuff from the graveyard, you can then mandatorily trigger it yourself by making this. One Cool Buy, the 1 Monster Reborn. You can take the Monster Reborn out for a second armor if you want to. Onto the trap cards. I've kind of gone with a lighter trap card lineup, and I've gone more hand trap. But if you want to go more trap cards, you can put in strikes, you can put in like rivalries and stuff like that. But the issue with rivalries is your main deck monsters are spellcasters, your extra decks are warriors. So the best one you do choose to play is Gozen. Now, the reason I really like Gozen right now in this format is because, less so for the Telemans, but they do bounce between like Waters with the Swap Frogs and the Nimble Beavers and Divas, and then Darks with the Telemans themselves. But when you look at Splites, there are going to be like Darks, they also go into Lights as well, they go into Waters, they go into Fires. So a Gozen can not only break a board, but can also lock a board down. We've then got 2 Vardis. I love the artworks on Vardis, and I love the artwork on the new Returia. Both of these cards are absolutely insane for the deck as well. So Vardis is you pay 800 to choose an Exosister monster from your deck, and then you take 1 Exosister monster that is listed on it. So you can get Irene and Martha if you want to. Special summon them, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. Also for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except Exosisters. That's completely fine, because if you were to trigger this and bring down, like, for example, a Martha, which triggers when any card is moved from the graveyard, and then bring out, like, an Irene or anything like that, not only will you be able to trigger additional effects, but you'll then be able to pretty much trigger their XYZ summons. Returnia is actually really cool as well. So if all monsters you control are Exosisters, minimum 1, you pay 800 to target a card your opponent controls, or in their graveyard, and banish it. Then you get to apply the following effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon 1 Exosister XYZ using monsters you control. If you XYZ summon this turn, you get to banish 1 card your opponent controls. So you either get a double banish, or you're going to get the ability to trigger one of your trigger into one of your XYZ summons, and that will then trigger another banish. Now, keeping in mind as well, because you're keeping cards from going to the graveyard, this is a very powerful counter to Telemans. And then when you're banishing the normal summon of your opponent's sprite monsters or anything like that, again, you're controlling what they're able to put on the board. And by limiting their normal summons, if they don't get a normal summon level 2 on the board and they don't open up Splite Starter, they're not going anywhere, and you're pretty much controlling them as you see fit. We've then got 2 Magnifica. This card is absolutely awesome. It's definitely the boss monster the deck required. So it requires 2 rank 4 Exosisters. Must be XYZ summoned using the above materials. It can't be XYZ summoned another way. So this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, and then once per turn, quick effect, you get to detach material from this card. You banish one card your opponent controls, non-target, nice. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you get to return an XYZ monster you owned attached to this card to the extra deck, and then you get to special summon the monsters from your extra deck by using this card you control as material. So basically, the way you're going to make this is you're either going to make it with your Machillis, or you're going to make it with your Castel, and then you'll get to be able to summon one of these back under the material. So if you go for your Machillis, you'll get a double banish. If you go for a Castel, you'll also get, I believe, a target negate. So your Machillis can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control this card that was XYZ summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster you control, you get a quick effect to target a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. Really, really nice. And then the Castel, again, can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard. And then if this card is XYZ summoned this turn with an Exosister monster, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn. Detach two materials from this card, one material from this card to get to add an Exosister monster from your deck to the hand, and then this one will detach a material to add a spell or trap. So this gets you into packs, this can get you into Martha or any monster that will become a free summon, which is why these are the first two you make. You detach, get the spell, you detach, get the monster, and then you overlay both of these and go into a Magnifica. The one Astel and the one Jabrain, less effective as their counterpart sisters, but this one is, again, can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard. If it is XYZ summoned this turn with an Exosister material, neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard, which is really important as well, because that will then trigger or stop the Teeleman respills. And you can detach a material to target a monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand, so a nice little bounce. And then this one, you get to target an effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Detach a material from this card, and for the rest of the turn, all XYZs you control gain 800 attack. So you can kind of see why they're the one-offs. The rest of the cards is entirely up to you what you want to play, and you can adapt these as you want. There is a link route, which is something like Hattie Firebrax. You've also got Celine that gets you into access code, just to kind of push for damage or board clearance. I've gone for Utopic Future and Draco Future. Obviously, if you use Martha, you're locked into Exosisters anyway. But this is one of the ones where if you've got two XYZs during your opponent's turn because you've summoned them, the first thing you do is you can make Utopic Future and then Draco Future to protect anything else going forward. And then if you can do your normal plays off of the back of your Exosisters, not including Martha's special from the deck, you can then be able to kind of, like, without special summoning Martha, you still get that rank 4 plays. Gooska for those slow games when you really need to go with that route. Cowboy for the times that, again, the games are a little bit slow. You're going to be burning 800 life points here and there, and if you're not gaining for your Exosisters effects, you need to make sure you have a way to either level the life points or do that additional 800 to win. Abyss Dweller is very, very specific. So this can be Tornado Dragon if you want to. It can be pretty much any other rank 4 that you might feel better with. This is just one of the ones where if I know the matchup is so powerful using its graveyard and I really need to stop it for the entire turn, I'll activate Abyss Dweller. Now, obviously, there are still cards that will trigger in the graveyard and not move anything in the graveyard. So that's where Abyss Dweller can still come into favour. And then there'll be cards that will move stuff in the graveyard as well. So you can still use both together. And then finally, we've got Double Zeus. It's probably rare you're going to go into a Zeus. You're only really going to do this if you're going second, you've turned off the board, but you still need to clear it. So you attack with an XYZ, you make Zeus, you clear a board off. Keeping in mind that your best new starter with the Martha cannot be used or can't go into Zeus if it uses its effect. So you need to be very, very careful with what you're doing. And that's why these are probably going to be your secondary cards that you can pretty much do whatever you want with. And these are going to be your main ones, which is why you max out on the Machillis. You could max out on the Magnifica if you want to, but honestly, I think these ratios is pretty standard for the Exosisters, and then the rest is up to you whether you want a Link version or a Link engine in case you get debarried, or if you just want to be going like full-on XYZ wombo combo power. And that's it. You've got a balance of board wiping, you've got the balance of banishing, control, everything you need in this deck. Obviously, the side deck is when it comes in to kind of counteract the fragilities of this deck. There's going to be counter cards for stuff like splites, where they're going to be using cards that adapt their levels, and that's where you need to kind of be able to try and deal with that with the Exosisters, because if they become level 3s, you can't make any of your rank 4s. So it's really, really important to kind of keep that in mind as well, that with the Mischief of the Gnomes running around and the band plays on and everything like that, you need to be prepared, and that's where your side deck's going to come into play, because keep in mind that Mischief of the Gnomes is a normal trap, and obviously you can be banished from the graveyard. And then the ban plays on is a continuous, so you need to have back row removal in the form of like lightning storms, cosmics, twins, you name it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's given you a couple of ideas on your own build. Like I said, the best thing about the Exosisters is it's slightly cheaper or massively cheaper in comparison to Telements and Splites. Plus, off the back of that, it is a very good counter for the current meta. And it also allows you to kind of focus on a more simplistic route of play while controlling the game state. It lets you be hand trap heavy or back row heavy, depending on which route you prefer to play. So you can turn it into a full-on control deck if you want to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Like I said at the start, if you would like to see a test hand or a combo video with this deck, then please make sure you smash that like button and get it above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I'll be more than happy to bring that for you. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.